Should be live. Do you see it, Chris?
It takes it.
Not yet. There's probably a little delay.
Yeah.
So I'd like to call the April 19th meeting to order. It is 6:30 p.m. And to start the meeting, I'd like to have a moment of silence in remembrance of Chris Van Warren, an HCS employee that has passed away recently after an extended illness. And now, if we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Due to the school snow day and the weather this morning and power outages in the area, we do have some changes to the agenda. So we are going to postpone a few presentations. We are going to postpone 5.0, postpone 6.1, and postpone 6.2. We'll bring those back to the agenda next month, and we thank everybody for being flexible and moving to next month for those. Are there any other changes, additions to the agenda?
There'll be an amendment on 4.1.
Wonder why?
Which one?
So May 30th will be used today as a snow day.
That's why it happened, though.
Right.
So the give back days will be the 27th and the 24th?
Correct.
May 27th.
Yes.
Any other changes to the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the March 10th regular meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, which is 3.1 through 4.0, as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll move.
Any discussion? Treasurer's report, consideration of claims, transportation report, cafeteria report, cooperative bidding, next page, municipal cooperation agreement, and the school calendar. I guess I just wanted to read the dates out for the school calendar part. So we have now, after today, 2 snow days remaining. So we are giving back those days. The days that will now be off of school will be May 27th, which extends Memorial Day weekend, and June 24th, which is technically the last day of, was the last
Correct.
day of school, and is graduation day.
Correct.
So May 27th and June 24th. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Aye. Well, that brings us to the participation. Do we have people joining us online tonight? We have one person in the room, and we thank you again for being here. If you'd like to, you're welcome to the podium. And if there's anybody online, please feel free to join in on the chat. And if we miss you this participation point, we'll come back to you for the next time.
There's nothing so far.
Okay, great. that brings us to personnel. I have 4 resignations. Do I need to do them individually, Debbie? Or can I do them as one?
You can do them all together.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the 4 resignations. Joanne Dandrew, Ann Gaziala, Marissa Fall, and Rachel Frisch.
Second.
All those in favor, oh, sorry, any discussion? I forgot to add with sincere appreciation for services rendered to the district. I'm sorry for skipping that piece. All those in favor? Aye. Then we have appointments, because they're all in different areas. I guess we will do them individually. So I need a motion to approve the appointment of Ashley Satoli. Ashley, I get everybody's name wrong, that's why I stopped. As a long-term substitute special education teacher effective April 19th through June 24th, 2022, as recommended by the director of PPS and the superintendent.
Second.
Discussion, will be an executive session. All those in favor?
Wait a second. Did you say through, or were you misreading the one below it?
No, this is April 19th through June 24th.
Ours
Because
doesn't
that's
have the
not-
through.
Ours doesn't have it.
As long as that's correct, I'll continue.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's a probationary long-term substitute.
Yeah, this says probationary long-term.
This is not, is it probationary?
Yeah, it's always
Okay.
probationary.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for catching up. All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the appointment of Haley Berner as a probationary school nurse effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, as recommended by the superintendent.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the appointment of Randy Mullinex as a probationary part-time .9 teacher aide bus aide effective April 20th, 2022, as recommended by the director of PPS and superintendent.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve Caprice Hiltz as, and Rachel Almond Burns as a substitute teacher. Both as substitute teachers?
No, we don't say substitutes.
And substitute.
As substitutes. As recommended by the elementary principal, director of PPS, and superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the recommendation of the committees on special education and preschool special education.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion will be an executive session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to appoint Sue Marks and Chris Almond as chief inspectors, Deborah Curley and Matt Crum as alternative inspector clerks, and the following clerks, Joan Prindle and Trish Ranieri as annual school day district budget vote election clerks. On May 17th, 2022, from noon to 8 p.m., as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have to change it. Helen Prindle called me today and told me she was not able to do that now. So I will fill in as a clerk unless I can find somebody else.
So do we need to amend that right now?
Yeah, you need, I should have told you at the beginning. Just realized that.
That's okay. So I need to amend this motion to remove Joan Prindle.
Second.
All those in favor on the amendment?
Aye.
Aye. Now, all those in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
That was a fun one.
Right?
I like that.
I had to go slow and say my words. Can you do that? Yeah.
I need a motion to appoint Michelle Jacobson as chairperson of the annual meeting on May 17th, 2022.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I need a motion to approve the destruction of the ballots, blank and complete, from the 2021-2022 budget vote, except for absentee ballots, as recommended by the district clerk and superintendent.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Can you remind me what the rules are about that?
Yeah, at our district clerk meeting, they told us that we were to destroy all of our previous ballots, except for the absentee ballots. So it'll say both a lot of them downstairs in the records room.
Yeah.
They just said,
Every-
get rid of them except for the absentee ballots,
And how long do you have to keep the absentee ballots?
forever. The retention, they said to keep them, just that we had a place to keep them forever.
They know how long paper lasts, right?
So they're downstairs in the records room, just the absentee ballots.
Do we need to,
Intriguing.
now this just says the 2020, getting rid of the 2021, 2022. Are there other ballots that we?
Well, because every year,
I think we
Every year.
voted on that each year.
every year this is on there, so I can get rid of last year's.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 tentative administrative budget of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services with the amount of $6,232,373. Funded by $1,190,410 in expense by components plus, there's more. $5,041,963 in earned interest and other miscellaneous revenue. And shall so allocate as a contingent expense its share of said administrative budget. Apportionment. I don't like that word. In accordance with section 1950 of the New York State Education Law. Huh. Sorry, that word didn't do me well.
I'll move. Oh.
All right, Ellen moved, I'll second.
Does anybody really want to discuss this?
No.
I just want to say I like the word apportion, so.
Okay. I don't, maybe a portion I like, but not the. Okay, anyways, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for hanging with me on that one.
You'll do the last one?
Yes. I need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and clarify its ballots. Certify its ballots. Can I just do this all in one?
I don't think you can.
No. To serve as a member of the MO BOCES.
Yeah. Just start over.
Sorry.
Just start over.
A motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Sally Sherwood of the Camden Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1 through June 30th, 2025 for the seat currently held by Sally. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison and Oneida BOCES on April 20th.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Here we go again. I need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of John Costello Sr. of the Oneida City School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services in the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1 through June 30th, 2025 for the seat currently held by John. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of Madison Oneida BOCES on April 20th. All those in favor? No.
Oh, no.
Motion. Move. Sorry.
I'll second.
Now. See, I read it better, but then I must be. A motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballots in the name of Suzanne Carvelli of the Rome Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services in the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, for the seat currently held by Suzanne. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison Oneida BOCES on April 20th.
I'll move.
Second.
Quick discussion.
Yeah.
Isn't Rome a city school?
Yes.
So now we need to amend it, don't we?
No.
No.
Good catch.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Need a motion to authorize the clerk to submit and certify its ballot in the name of Michelle Jacobson of the Hamilton Central School District to serve as a member of the Madison Oneida Board of Cooperative Educational Services of the sole supervisory district of Madison and Oneida counties for the term of July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2024 for the seat currently held by Michelle Jacobson. The ballot will be submitted to the clerk of the Madison and Oneida BOCES on April 20th, 2022.
I'll move.
Second.
Should it be 2024 or 2025?
24, she's a 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I get out of it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kind of makes me think like the royal entrance, like when they give like the titles of 5 different animals.
Right? Those are pretty long.
They should say that before every board meeting every year.
I need a motion to pay Deborah Welsh a stipend of $2,200 for COVID-19 substitute call services for the 2021-2022 school year from the BOCES ELC grant as recommended by the business manager and superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Wait, actually, no, I was gonna ask about, what is the BOCES ELC grant?
So that is a grant that BOCES secured for COVID funding for testing, administrative services, all due to COVID. Nurse, additional nurse coverage, anything COVID related.
Awesome.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the 2022-2023 transportation request received by April 1st as recommended by the superintendent.
Move.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to adopt the 2022-2023 school calendar as recommended by the superintendent.
I'll move.
Second.
And my discussion is we're still gonna have real snow days next year. again.
We are. So this is a 184-day calendar. It has 4 emergency days built in, as opposed to the 5 this year.
Is there a reason that it's 4 instead of 5, or just the way the calendar?
Just the way the calendar lays out.
I didn't look through it too much, but we're following the BOCES calendar.
Yes.
There's no changes from that other than some superintendent days, I'm sure.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Commencement is a whole week earlier almost.
Yeah.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. A discussion, budget discussion, Matt's favorite. It's your turn, Matt.
Great,
Great,
thank you.
and then I'll do a motion.
Chris going to present it.
Chris is going to help me out. He's going to throw some slides up on the screen. The good news is, really, there's no new news really since we last talked at our budget coffees, and really since the March board meeting, other than us really sort of honing in on where we're at. So prior to you advancing with this action item and formally adopting the budget, which then really allows us to prepare for the 3rd Tuesday in May, I thought I would just quickly go through this presentation. Again, from the budget coffees that I know were attended by most of you, it'll pretty much be a review. You'll be hearing this for the 2nd time. But for anybody tuning in and anybody that hasn't been through this, you'll get an update on sort of how we honed in on this final budget number that you'll be adopting, and then as we prepare for the vote and the tax implications accordingly. So the first thing I want to talk about is the tax levy calculation. Chris, you can go to the next slide, please. And again, this was submitted to the state on March 1st, so this is a number that we've been sort of working with for several months now. Our maximum allowable tax levy increase within the New York State tax cap is 2.95%. The levy growth factor this year that all districts start out with as a baseline is 2%. I believe the statewide CPI for the last 12 months was almost 5%. So this is the, oftentimes you the 2% tax cap. It's the lesser of 2% or the statewide average CPI. Last year, at this time, we were working off a baseline number in the low ones. It was like 1.2%. Obviously, with all the inflation and the CPI that's skyrocketed, everybody's working off a baseline of 2%. The tax base growth factor is a district-specific number based on additions to your tax base. So this is actual brick and mortar additions to your tax base. So new home construction, new buildings that are added to the tax base. Very minimal growth in the last year. I anticipate next year that number to be higher based on the new residential development up on the hill to the west here. So that'll be an important piece and a welcome opportunity for us to, I know it's going to sound frightening, but to levy more taxes because we're increasing our tax base. So we'll get into that more next year as it becomes prevalent. And then the last thing that really bumps us up to that 2.95% is our capital levy exclusion. So this is the local share of capital expenditures. For the most part for us, it's the local share on the capital project, on the debt service, principal and interest payments net of state aid, and also the principal interest payments on school bus purchases net of transportation aid. So you can see, because of the new capital project, the local share on that capital levy has gone up a little bit, so there's a little bit greater of an exclusion. So that sort of gets backed out when figuring out. That doesn't count against your cap. The other sort of wild card this year that we know that we're going to have to contend with, we know we're going to get questions on, is the recent reassessment in the town of Hamilton. In contact with other school districts, other municipalities, not just in this region but statewide, there have been a lot of reassessments across the state. So this is something school districts are going to contend with. It's sort of a review. What we as the district, you as the board, you are adopting the budget and a tax levy number, the total number of taxes to be levied. How that gets distributed throughout the tax base, throughout the community, is not under our control. That's something that we will continue to talk about. At the budget hearing, we'll talk about it. And obviously, Debbie and I and Bill will be prepared in the fall and we'll be here for people. So, you know, unfortunately, we can go back and forth on all night about reassessments and why you do them, why you don't do them, but it's important to note that we have control over the levy number, the total amount of taxes that we levy, how it's distributed, and how the individual tax bills are calculated is beyond our control. So that's really to be determined in the next few months before September 1st. Next slide, please, Chris. Just a quick overview of the last, really, it's 11 years now that we've had the tax cap in New York State, which doesn't seem possible. But you can see, with the exception of 2013-14, where it was about a 4.5% levy increase, that was a bit of an anomaly. That was the year that the employer retirement contributions really went up, so there was a heavy exemption for that. That was actually tax cap compliant that year at 4.48. The only year we had an override was 3.73%, and under the cap, under the rules of the cap, our allowable levy was actually negative that year. So, sort of strategically, that was if you're gonna override, you're gonna override. So, but other than that, really, since then, hopefully what you'll see is some stability. You'll see that we've been anywhere from 1% to just under 3%, and that is really important. And you've heard me say this several times. It's really important to have that stability. It's important to sort of grab those tax levy dollars when we have the opportunity to, within the tax cap, without big fluctuations, because that's really what affects people. So you can see proposed for next year with the budget number that's going to be put forth in front of you would require a levy increase of 2.95%, which is our cap under the tax cap. But again, if you don't grab it, you lose it. So it's very important to make sure we capture those monies while maintaining some stability on an annual basis. Thanks, Chris. Quick overview of the New York State budget. Again, no major updates. And really, this was kind of a strange year. Usually in January, the executive proposal will come out, and then it's 2.5 months of lobbying and uncertainty, and the legislature come throwing out a bunch of different proposals. This year, because the executive proposal was pretty favorable for school districts compared to what it's been in the past, there really wasn't much change between that time in January when the budget was ultimately adopted in early April. They were close to being on time, but not quite on time, but it was adopted in early April. The plan is still to fully fund foundation aid in the next 2 years for all districts in New York State. We've been through this a number of times. We are already considered overfunded. So there is sort of a hold harmless provision of at least 3% for all school districts, which is great news for us. That equates to roughly $100,000, just over $100,000 in foundation aid, so that's good. No changes in expense-driven aids, BOCES, transportation, excess cost aids for special needs students, so that's all good news. In prior years, there were proposals to tweak some of those and change those that would not be good for a district like us, so that is good news. And then as we're seeing an increase in our principal and interest payments for a capital project, we are seeing an increase in our building aid, which is to be expected. Next slide, Chris, if you would please. So our key revenue sources. The bulk of the budget is funded by the two main revenue sources of the tax levy and foundation aid from New York State. The 2.95% tax levy increase as part of this proposed budget equates to a little over $230,000. The foundation aid increase, as I mentioned, just over $100,000. So you see about $335,000 increase for those two main sources. The big, I'm going to skip the third one quickly. Fund balance and reserves, $190,000. We will appropriate $130,000 from this year into next year's budget, and then use of $60,000 in other reserves. The big wild card this year, in the next year, in next year into the 2023-24 will be the use of COVID relief funds. And these are all the alphabet soup grants, CSRSA, ARP, really have to be expended through, as of right now, September of 2023. So it will spill over into the 23-24 budget year. If you recall, going back to March of 2020, our total allocations for all of these COVID relief funds was about $1.6 million. We've been expending those and encumbering those as we're moving along. So really, from now through September of 23, we have roughly $1 million that we'll expend, which is wonderful. Most of these funds are pretty specific and targeted for targeted use. There's a certain number of dollars that you have to spend on after-school programming. You have to spend on summer programming. You have to spend on learning loss. Now, as you get into things like learning loss, there's a little bit more flexibility in what you can apply those funds to. So certainly balancing the budget, utilizing those funds to enhance what we're doing, to keep things in place and to keep moving forward. The $1 million question, literally for us, is what's going to happen in September of 23 when these funds are gone. And that's a real concern of school districts all over the state and probably all over the country, because these are federal funds. How can we utilize these funds, create programs, do what we need, but not create a situation in a couple of years from now where the well runs dry and we're asking ourselves, geez, these things we've implemented in the last 2 years, how can we keep doing it? So that's going to be the real challenge. It's a good problem to have, really, because of the level of funding. So just keep in mind, 100 or 335,000 basically in the increase on the revenue side, and you'll see how quickly that kind of gets eaten up. So, the next slide, you'll see key expenditures. Again, as is the case every year, personnel costs is roughly $300,000, and that's wage increases and increases in district contributions to employee benefits is roughly $300,000. Our health insurance premiums are going up 4% next year, which is phenomenal. The consortium that we're a part of with 11 other school districts and the Mid-York Library System is part of our consortium. We have roughly 10,000 covered lives. So that allows us, there's safety in numbers when it comes to this. As a small district our size, if we were self-insured, if we had large claims, we'd see a lot more volatility. So I know Ellen's very involved in healthcare. I see her nodding her head. From all indications, our 4% increases in health insurance premiums for a level of benefit that we have for all of our employees, all of our retirees, is phenomenal. So we were able to do that because of COVID, the last couple of years, claims have been down in our consortium. So that's a good thing. Fuel is fuel. Really, there's not much to discuss.
Taking some proactive measures.
So, this is the first time in my tenure here in Hamilton that we've not been able to lock in a fixed price for diesel fuel for the upcoming school year. And I think we got into this previously with the timing of the bid and the volatility at the time. Understandably, we just couldn't. It's not something we could obtain. So, really, we had to really bump up our fuel budget, and we'll be buying that on a fluctuating price throughout all of next year, which is basically a nickel a gallon more than what the average, what the local, regional, state contract price is. So, if it goes down miraculously, significantly in the next 6 to 18 months, then we'll have some savings there. But we're prepared for high fuel costs.
Does Joanna have maybe some students have some loss of learning that can only be fixed with some fuel, purchases? We can study.
Might be a good idea. Yeah, I was thinking that her kids. You talking about Johanna Bosworth's kids?
Yeah.
When they give those presentations, and always Monica's kids.
Right.
Thought that'd be a good thing for them to get involved in.
Yeah.
I'd love the opportunity.
Do some negotiation on fuel prices.
Yeah, put them to work.
Yeah. Do some of that COVID relief money.
Sure.
Do it for the kids.
BOCE CTE, $80,000. Again, this is a direct result of increased participation in our kids, HCS kids, enrolling in and attending career and tech ed at BOCES. It's a 3-year average. It's a bit of an anomaly because we had 2 really small years, 4 and 5 years ago, corresponded with our real low graduating classes, and now we have more kids that are kind of working their way into that calculation. So this should, at worst, level off in the next couple of years based on our enrollment. And then the last thing is just the increased debt service, which is really, for the most part, offset by the increase in building aid in New York State. So that's kind of a wash. So you can see with personnel costs, fuel, BOCE CTE, that more than eats up the increases in foundation and tax levy. Now the good news, how are we able to sort of keep things balanced and really have a stable year? For the first time in years, the item that's not on this page is special education. And I'll be honest, the first thing is it's coincidence, it's luck. Knock on wood, we haven't had an increase in students moving into the districts that have high needs. But it's also a testament to Kevin, his team, Heather, Mark, obviously Bill, our team, in doing things efficiently, yet meeting the needs of all of our students. So, I applaud them for their hard work. Meeting the needs is first and foremost, as you know, but I know, and sitting through meetings with them constantly, I know how hard I am on them. I know that they're always thinking about the budget impact. And, you know, it's not the primary focus, but I know that they're always conscious of that, so I thank them for that. So that was a big help for us this year. It was a sort of a needed relief in not having a big increase in special ed costs. So the big thing. So again, before we get into the numbers, talk about stability. We are again here with another year which we're not having to scale back programs. We're not cutting any offerings for budgetary purposes. And if anything, we're enhancing what we're able to do. A big part of that is COVID relief funds. So Chris, if you could go to the next slide, please. When we look at programs, last year, a year ago now as we stood here, the one thing that we had going for us that was really beneficial from a budgetary standpoint was all the retirements that we had. We had 6 teachers retired last year and 1 non-instructional, so we had 7 retirements. This year, in advance of next year, we only have 1. It's a school nurse, which obviously we have to replace. Appointed a replacement site. So for school districts, especially a small one like us, when we have retirements, changing how we do things and potentially eliminating positions through attrition is your opportunity to really make a budgetary impact. We don't have that opportunity this year, which is a good thing, because that means everybody's coming back. And we're happy with who we have. So again, it's a double-edged sword. We're happy to have everybody coming back. But because of those other things, the COVID relief funds, because of special ed being a good year, if you will, we're going to be okay without having the retirements. Some of the things we're going to be able to add. We are going to add a full-time licensed speech path to our staff here at HCS. We currently have 1 full-time speech path employee. It's an HCS employee. That's not enough to cover our caseload. So we currently buy an itinerant service through BOCES, where an itinerant provider comes in on a part-time basis. It's getting to where we're increasing that itinerant so much that for a similar cost, we can hire a full-time employee of our own. And plus, if you get past 3 days a week, the state says, no more BOCES, that's not a share anymore. The whole point of BOCES is to have a share, right? So you can't just hire a full-time BOCES person because you're not sharing. So we will have, next year, we will have 2 full-time licensed speech paths as HCS employees. Now, what does that mean? Well, Kevin does not believe we're going to have the need for IEP services for 2 full-time speech paths. So what we anticipate is an opportunity for speech improvement, speech enrichment, and expanding our services, particularly in early grade levels, which should benefit us long-term moving forward. So that's good news. The next, I'm going to skip the next couple bullets and just jump down. I kind of summarize things first. I already alluded to it. We're not reducing programs or staffing anywhere. Not unique to Hamilton. I think within the last couple of years, the single most emerging need in all of, not just in school districts, but is mental health, social emotional learning, DEI. We have an opportunity, unique opportunity, to expand those services within the district. We have to. The first is an opportunity that's a collaboration with Madison County Department of Mental Health, which will be able to add a full-time social worker at HCS. Now, this will not be an HCS employee, and we anticipate being charged, if you will, half the cost that the county has to employ this person. Now, the reason it's only going to be half, because it's an employee of the county, they're not going to be bound to HCS's contractual work hours or school day. So we anticipate utilizing this person, including off hours of the school day, which we think can be really helpful to us in this community. Bill and Mark, Heather, Kevin can certainly speak more to it, but that oftentimes historically has been a big barrier to us. Oftentimes the services are available after school hours in the evening, but it's in Lumpsville. or if we have an opportunity to do something in school, the timing doesn't work with somebody else. So we're really excited about this. By doing that too, the county anticipates being able to bill for some of these services to recoup some funds. So that's why they're expecting billing us half. Now I believe if they find themselves in a situation where they are able to bill more, the amount they charge us will be less. So they're not looking to make money off of this, they're just looking for that balance of what they charge us and what they can bill. The next piece is utilizing the COVID funds, so really it won't have any budgetary impact on this budget figure that you're going to be presented with, for additional SEL and DEI support. And really what that's going to be is repurposing existing staff in different positions. And I don't know, Bill or Kevin or anybody else wants to speak on that, now would probably be. Bill.
Sure. So we're looking at taking a teacher and moving them to a teacher on a special assignment, and in the role of an SEL district coordinator and family engagement coordinator to work in conjunction with our SEL team and Kevin's team, pre-K through 12, to provide SEL supports throughout the district for teachers, for students, and for families. So they work closely with our counseling staff, our social worker, teachers, to provide services to students that need the support. So we have a unique opportunity to be able to do that this year with an existing staff member. So we're excited about that. And one other thing about the social worker, although it's a shared financial position with the county, they will be solely in our district. They will be providing services to HCS students and families exclusively.
What's that? Yep. So any other questions on staffing programming?
Sorry, just to go back to that real quick on the social worker, could it extend to people within our district who aren't necessarily students here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, their families, any family within the district that needs services. Services are very limited in Southern Madison County for mental health and for social emotional learning, for social emotional concerns. So this is a really unique opportunity in this area to be able to provide services to our families.
Great. Thanks, Chris. And lastly, just the overview. So what does this all equate to? What are the numbers look like? And this, again, is sort of the required three-part format. I did notice I do have a typo on there. The second column should say 22-23, so my apologies for that. So again, what you'll see is sort of some stability and some consistency. So you'll see the total overall budget increase, the expenditure of 2.81%. So just over $14.4 million, a tax levy increase of 2.95%. So really, if you really want to step back and look at this from a broad sense, you're looking at roughly 3% increase in spending, 3% increase in state aid, 3% increase in the tax levy. So that's really what it equates to. Obviously, the percentages are off just a little bit because of some other things going up and down accordingly. It's always a little bit tough, and we certainly don't want to see this. The optics of it it's not preferred to see the program component with the smallest percentage increase. If you look at it in terms of actual dollars, it's increasing the most. It is such a large part of the budget that the percentage doesn't look as high. Another anomaly this year in the administration component, we're not adding any administrative staffing or support. In the BOCES budget that you just approved tonight, if you recall, our RWADA, which is our resident weighted average daily attendance, it's an enrollment count that BOCES uses to calculate many of their expenditures. We're the only component district this year whose RWADA is going up next year. So what that means is we pay more of a share for most BOCES services on the base fee. So a lot of those BOCES expenditures are going up 6 to 8%, which is, they fall in that administrative component. So And then most of the increase in the capital component is, again, the increase in debt service for the capital project. So, again, all in all, pretty stable. So, when I'm done and you get back to your action item there, you will see that 14,427,864 is the amount for the budget. And then lastly, the next steps, just quickly, you'll see tonight. I will submit our property tax report card by Monday, I believe, because it falls over the weekend. Our budget newsletter will be going out. We have a draft done. Thank you to Deb Curley for all her hard work as always. We have a draft ready, and as soon as we get that reviewed, we'll get that printed, get that sent out. May 10th, Tuesday, May 10th, 1 week before the vote, we will have our public budget hearing at 6:30. Likely in here. I don't think we'll get a huge turnout. And then May 13th, which is a Friday, we'll be doing our senior citizen breakfast. It's something that it becomes sort of a tradition here. Obviously haven't been able to do it the last couple of years. It's really a nice event. I get to do a budget presentation that's about 30 seconds long, which is nice. But our Honor Society kids come and serve and help out. Andrea does a nice breakfast for our senior citizens. So we hope to have people attend that. And then the 17th is the vote. So
for the May 10th,
yeah,
can we do that at 6 so we can be done by 7 for the spring concert?
The middle school spring concert is that night.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
We can do it at 6:30 and be done by 7.
That'd be
But I'm trying to do it by 7, let's do it.
No, that's 6 o'clock would be good. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
You got that down?
I'm glad somebody will be done.
6 o'clock.
Now Debbie has to change her draft.
Sorry, I'm trying to change how things.
Sorry.
What do you think you made mistakes?
You never know. Just when we think you've proved it to, we always think.
That's what we'll be doing for the next 3 days.
It's
Proofing
like,
that thing.
yeah,
Text her email.
like your floor was a proofing, get it printed.
You don't have to be selfish, correct?
I know, the numbers are always good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Any specific questions for Matt? Appreciate all the work you're doing.
Sure, thank you.
Good. So that brings me to a motion to adopt the 2022-2023 proposed budget with expenditure plan not to exceed $14,427,864, which includes all projected BOCE services, and to approve the bus proposition for two passenger buses at an estimated maximum cost of $180,000 as recommended by the business manager and the superintendent.
Up to 2 buses.
Up to,
Yeah,
sorry.
that was corrected.
Yeah, just corrected.
And we are, and it will be only one.
I'll move.
I'll second.
So it will be only one. And we'll be taking one offline, right? That's what we do?
Yes. Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve Hamilton Central's participation on Morrisville Eaton's modified track program during the 2021-2022 school year, contingent that parents are responsible for transportation and that all COVID safety protocols are followed as recommended by the athletic director and superintendent.
Second.
And it's for 1 8th grader?
Correct.
And
You knew what I was
I
gonna
knew.
ask.
we have JV varsity here, but we don't have modified?
Correct.
Okay.
But it's not, we don't have JV, it's just varsity.
Just varsity track.
Varsity,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And to that 8th grader, it's very hard to wear red when you're in green. I've done it before, but good luck. It's weird. The only one. Policy reviews, they're just discussions, so I'm going to turn it over. We got a revised, a reclined, a new, and a for informational only.
So, you'll see we want to rescind a policy The reason is that will be replaced with two new policies, 8303 and 8304. There's an attached regulation to one. Bill, do you want to speak to any of these policies? Or?
Sure. As we move forward with our DEI initiatives, there has been, more so regionally, but we have had some challenges with our textbooks, and not so much our textbooks, but our library materials. And we felt it was very appropriate for us to look at the language in our selection and evaluation of library and instructional materials and update them and put them to you for first reads so that we can move forward with our DEI policies and be on solid ground for any challenges or reconsideration for those materials to be reviewed.
Are these the policies that you've written? I mean, this is a lot of new policy. Are there backbones that you're building it off of from others, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you, these
Yes.
policies have been some of the most complicated policies that we've worked on.
No question, yeah.
Now, the one policy is getting replaced with two.
Right.
The current policy includes selection of textbook, which is a required policy. You have to have a policy on textbooks. The current policy is covered in one small sentence. So this policy really expands on that.
Right.
Additionally, the public participation, there's some fairly major changes in there. So if you guys want to go through any and ask or comment, or I can dial in more, or Corey can.
Yeah, I think for the textbooks, one of the main things we wanted to make sure was there is the idea of textbooks being accessible to all.
Yeah.
That they're chosen. There's some outlining of the way that they're considered and they're chosen. We wanted to maintain, especially principles of academic freedom for the teachers. So the teachers are the ones in control of what materials they select, and that those are done in accordance with professional standards and the best practices within their field of expertise. And that they're the ones who get to determine what's appropriate to be used in their classrooms. And that they're always part of the conversation if there's any questioning or review of that. Similarly with the library material policy, one of the, I think a guiding principle of that is the idea that this is a place of knowledge where knowledge is contained and freely accessible to all, and that knowledge can come in many forms, and not everybody likes all forms of knowledge as they come, but that our goal is for everybody and every student to have access to as much knowledge as possible. And so that the selection of those things is done, again, in accordance with best practices, with what other professionals see as the most relevant and most pressing information and knowledge that should be shared, that should be available, and that we are leaving the decision about what is the most appropriate for each student up to the decision of students and parents to work with, and not for the school to necessarily be deciding on behalf of a child or a student what is relevant or what is the most appropriate for that individual's student. So we've gone back and forth on a lot of different iterations of what this would look like, but the main idea is we want students to have access to knowledge, and this is what is the least restrictive to students accessing knowledge, and that we want parents to feel like if they're concerned with the content, that's a decision, that's something they should discuss with their children. They should be in control of their, they should be open with their children about what they should be looking at, and that they can be open with our librarian staff, our library staff, to make sure they understand what the students want and they're getting what they want from the library materials.
And additionally, on that policy, the selection and evaluation of library and instruction materials, two things to note. The reevaluation portion of it, we mainly, the current policy didn't expand on it so much. We really, looked ahead of what possibilities could come. I guess what I mean is we really shored that up where that, it's well understood what that process is now. Also with this policy, we've gone back and gotten feedback internally. So we're pretty comfortable that this policy meets the needs of the district.
Thank you.
And then, I don't know if you guys got a chance to go through the public participation one. We kind of shored up some specifics. There's some time restraints. Look back at it here. We've gone through the comment process. We've even included how there's a written form if people choose. So we think that this policy will really help our meetings go smoothly moving forward, while giving people their time to participate, the participation portion of the meetings.
I think an important thing for me here is the wording is puts a lot of the responsibility for the time limit and the content of to be on the speaker. So, for example, we can think of times where somebody is the only person speaking in the room. They're speaking about something very important. We don't want to stop them from they hit 3 minutes, but if they need to keep going, maybe it's not the right appropriate time to interrupt somebody. That can be up to discretion. Whereas if it's a room full of people and there's a line of people, then the district has the ability.
The presiding officer has to lead this.
Yeah, we had some flexibility with time.
Similarly with things such as not bringing up individuals, right? If somebody comes up and says something very disparaging and attacking somebody, then the district, again, that's up to it's the individual's responsibility not to do that. And obviously the presiding officer can put an end to things that are inappropriate. But when somebody comes up and says, I just want to say that Bill's been doing a great job, we don't have to cut them off and say, how dare you bring up Bill? Keep his name out of your mouth. So, again, for me that's important, that it puts the responsibility on the speaker to follow the rules, and then the board can enforce them if they feel like they are getting out of hand.
Great. Very good.
And all of this falls within the school law
Yes.
situation, because I know for years we've wrestled with some of these things.
Yes.
And wrestled with interpreting, oh my gosh, yes, that.
And a lot of
school
this,
law book.
a lot of the changes here have come from other policies of the state. There's nothing that we made up.
Right.
But yes, it's a great question. And the one regulation that's just, there's no board action for that, it's just tied in.
Yeah.
Thank you to Bill and your team for getting that pulled together.
Sure.
Where it mentions president, like I'm specifically looking at 2044 right now, should we change president to presiding officer just in case?
Where are you looking at it?
It's under number 1, so it's policy 2044, number 1. It mentions president, and then at the end, public participation at board meetings also mentions president.
So you want to change in section 1, president to presiding officer, like has been used in the rest of the policy?
That, and just for the fact that if I'm not here.
Then somebody needs to be able to.
And additionally, in section 3, you said.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good catch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Great. Anything else on the discussion for these policies for this meeting?
Thank you again for all the work you guys are doing on these.
These are awesome.
You have no idea what it
Oh, I have an
We got
idea.
more coming.
I do have an idea, and that's why I didn't volunteer to do it.
is. Yeah.
Plenty more to come.
It brings us to the administrator's reports, as we've been doing the last two meetings. They were presented to us through the Word docs. If anybody has any questions, this would be the time now to ask.
I was gonna, Chris, if I could ask you, could you tell us a little bit more about the diversity survey that you're planning? And who you're planning that with?
We haven't actually conducted a diversity survey yet. That's something that I need to work closely with Bill on, but it's something that we very much would like to do soon. When we had our DEI meeting, I forget, it was probably a month ago now, many of you were there. Some of the people said that should be where we should begin with the diversity survey. Is that the survey you mean?
Yeah, sorry, I was just confused because it says continuing book study with SU. We have begun the process of planning diversity. I didn't know if you had an outside group that you were working with through SU or something, but no, that's just a
No, so that should really say we've just begun discussion about the diversity
Okay.
survey. I apologize.
I might have some more information from the
Good.
committee I can share.
Okay.
We really could use some help getting started.
Yeah, there's some helpful stuff coming soon, I think, from NISBA. So.
Great.
Other questions?
No, just, there's a lot of great stuff happening, so thank you.
Thank you.
And with all the end of the year events, one of us is working on divvying those out.
Debbie's working on a list,
Okay.
right, Debbie? We don't need it yet, but,
Year-end events.
yeah, so that we can divvy up and decide who's going where.
For
what
awards and
For awards
banquets.
and
Yeah.
banquets. So
Are
that
we,
can-
are we thinking all board members for the graduation this year, like normal, or
We
to be
can,
determined?
we can if we want. And then we can
I'll
just
be there.
figure out,
You know, that kind of figure?
Surprise.
we'll just figure out the process for the
All right.
handing out awards, but yes, we
Yeah.
can all be there this year. We'll be outside and pretty much, or, yeah.
What we did last year worked well.
Yeah, but if there's 5 of us, we might want to do it a little differently, but, so yes, we'll get that, and then everybody can kind of pick dates for what works to cover.
Before we move on, can I just say one thing?
Of course.
I just want to publicly acknowledge Heather and everybody else who was involved with the cereal domino assembly that happened right before break. That was, I mean, I'm kind of a big sap, but that was really probably one of the coolest things that I've witnessed. So kudos to everybody. I was like crying over it.
They look pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
It's on the website, right, Chris? The video's on the website?
Well, it was actually the most elaborate production that we've conducted to date. We had probably 4 video cameras, including a drone and a bunch of still cameras. So we're going to be putting together a pretty cool production. So there's a simple video out there that's just like a time lapse,
Yeah.
but we're going to be putting together a much nicer production of all the angles. It was really cool.
Chris, can I tag in?
Please do.
I'd like to acknowledge Capri Potter as the chairperson of HCS Reads, and then the entire committee that worked with her, Carrie Stoddard, and then also Johanna. So, and Jess Hoople for the surprise musical event, and just many more people that were involved in it. It really was special.
And I just want to say, I love that program. I don't read, I listen. My husband reads to the kids, and I sit there and listen. And I was so upset one night because I had a meeting and I couldn't listen to the story. And so they had to fill me in at breakfast the next day. So I was really into it. I hope
And then
others do
also
the same.
PTO for purchasing and ongoing supporting the purchase of the book. So that's a huge part too. If I knew I would forget somebody or something.
Other questions for administrative reports? Thank you all. Hope you had a good vacation. Couple days at least, right?
Right.
Maybe.
Bill, you're up.
So our phase 3 and the final phase of our capital project has commenced, so we're very excited about that. If you've seen throughout the building, we're on schedule. Some rooms down in the 4th and 5th grade wing have been, they're being abated, and teachers have moved into auxiliary locations, so they're all set and ready to go. They were ready to go for today. The locker rooms are being abated as we speak, and so moving forward with that, so that's exciting.
Locker rooms are.
Can I interrupt you there?
Sure you can.
The remaining projects on stage 2, I think a product shortage was involved. Is there any progress there? Or?
Still waiting.
Still waiting?
Still waiting. We're waiting on a couple doors
Yeah,
that are still back ordered and
okay.
supply chain issues. so-
Totally understand.
Yep, yep. As soon as they get in, they'll be
I heard that
installed.
about the snow today. It was a supply chain issue.
Yeah.
We got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Supposed to be here in February.
A couple of things. Trooper Deroshi will be in district on Friday, meeting with us and the counseling staff if they're available to go over our threat assessment protocols as part of our safety assessment is one of the board goals this year. As you know, Trooper Deroshi was in earlier in the year and did a district audit, and one of the main points of emphasis was to develop a threat assessment protocol and team. So our counselors and Kevin's team have been hard at work putting that together, and we'll present that to Trooper Deroshi on Friday. And Officer Janzik from the Hamilton Police Department will be reviewing those, so we're all on the same page and moving forward with those. So that's good news. Another exciting feature coming from Madison County is a meeting with Sergeant Viola. They are putting together a threat assessment team out of Madison County to help support Madison County school districts in the event that there is a threat. So we were supposed to meet prior to break. She had a conflict, so we're meeting tomorrow or Thursday, I'm not sure. But it's this week she's coming in to meet with us to go over that program. So that's going to be another feature that we will be able to take advantage of through the county. So the county is really doing a lot to support districts right now. So it's a really needed support, and we're going to take advantage of all of those services.
And this is tied in with the Madison County Mental Health. So
Yes,
that's a big part of their.
it's a big part of their initiative. So. And then two things I'd like to discuss, in an attempt to foster more student voice and community engagement. In my report, I added 2 proposals that I'd like you to consider. One would be to submit to district voters once every 2 years at the annual meeting a separate referendum to decide whether the district shall allow a student attending high school as established pursuant to law to serve on the school board of education as an ex officio non-voting member of the board. So we would have a student representative on the board, no voting rights, cannot go to executive session, but can contribute to our meetings. Some districts already do this. Travis has done some work with school law to provide the template to be able to do this for us through the policy service. So I would like you to consider that.
And the part with the district voters, that's education law. There's no way around that.
Mhm.
And what will be the process after that? We'd have to approve this as a referendum?
Yes. Yeah, at the annual meeting every 2 years. Yeah.
But the person would change, could
Yes.
change
Yes,
between?
it would change.
And the education law lays out the whole, who it can be in the process.
So this would be approved, and then voters would vote on it.
Correct.
To approve it every 2 years, they'd have to reapprove.
Yes.
And so we couldn't get this on this year, because that date is passed,
Too
is
late.
that correct?
Too late.
So
Yeah.
as soon as we could do this in.
Yeah.
Would be
So
nice.
a policy would be developed next school year.
Correct.
So that when
Yeah.
we put it on when we put a referendum,
Yes.
we would have a policy.
So the next step is for the policy committee to put something before
Yes.
the board to get this in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
And the hopes would be that not this coming school year, it would be the following school year. If this goes through, if the voters approve this, then would be the time that this ex officio member would be a part.
Starting July 2023 would be the earliest.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, yep.
Great.
And then I would also ask the board to consider next year to our meetings calendar to schedule a meeting with our student council.
One.
Just one, yeah, one throughout the year, to meet and hear them about what they think of school and any suggestions. And
Set student councils, because we have one in elementary school too, don't we?
There's one at each school, middle school, isn't
middle school as
Yeah.
well.
So I think
Yeah.
it
All
needs to be
three.
all of them.
I
Yeah,
think so too.
yeah.
Would they prefer to, would it be better to meet with all of them as one group or three different?
I guess I would have to talk to the building principals and get their feedback on that.
it?
I mean,
Yeah,
it
I
could
mean,
be
I
one
think
meeting
it's-
for us, but
Right.
we each get a turn.
Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
I think
I think the
I'm good
elementary
either
students
way.
would be intimidated with the older kids.
They might, but they might feed off of them too, or they come prepared with whatever they were ready to say, but
Yeah.
Show them up.
Yeah, that's pretty much all.
they might.
Yeah.
They have good
Yeah.
ideas.
That's a really good question.
But I think if we're gonna do it, it needs to be all the councils.
I agree.
So too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are great initiatives.
Yeah.
I think so
I
too.
support them.
Absolutely.
Great. And then the last part of my report is I have an athletic update from Ms. Free. Spring sports, varsity and modified, have officially started with practices and some games, matches, and meets. Unfortunately, the weather has not been very cooperative, so 'tis the season for cancellations and rescheduling.
That's-
I remain optimistic that the weather will figure itself out so we can carry on with our seasons and include all regular season contests prior to sectional dates. Fall season preparation is underway with the scheduling of games at the varsity level. Once that's complete, JV and modified will follow. Lastly, our tradition of strong academics and athletics at HCS continues. Congratulations to the girls varsity basketball team and the boys varsity basketball team for being recognized by the New York State Public High School Athletic Association for being named Scholar Athlete Teams. To qualify for this honor, 75% of the team roster must have a total GPA of 90% or higher. So that's excellent.
Great.
Yep. Many thanks to the board and HCS administration for your continued support of athletics. Thank you to the transportation department for driving our athletes to their games, to buildings and grounds, for ensuring our facilities are always ready for practices and games, and to Mrs. Marcellus for always taking care of our students. So that is from Ms. Freeth, our athletic director. That is my report. Unless you have questions on what I submitted in
Like I
writing.
said, we kind of already did questions, but do we have other questions for Bill this time? Steering team updates, elementary steering team.
I did not make it to the meeting. Heather, are there updates?
Yeah, so we are wrapping up, we shared at our last steering team some samples of the report cards and had some good discussions about what we looked at the different samples, what we liked on some of them, what we might want to include on our updated revised report card that hopefully we'll be working on this summer. And then Chris gave a technology update, so Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I went over with the elementary steering team. What I submitted to you is my report this month. The submitted draft of the technology plan, and I answered some questions from the parents about the plan. They had a lot of great questions.
Any questions for that team? Secondary?
So we have been fine tuning a survey that the plan is still to go out on the 26th, is that right, Lauren?
Fingers crossed,
Yeah, so we've got a survey that would go to students, 3 surveys really, I guess, they're mostly the same, but students, parents, and teachers.
Yep.
And so, kind of getting an assessment of how things are going in school, and I think that data will be really important. And then internally, Mark and the administration is figuring out exactly who gets to see that data and how we're going to use that data. But it will be, whoever sees it will be anonymized as much as can be possible in a small school. And be the same that way. So they're working on that part of it.
Great.
So,
That's exciting.
that should be good.
Almost there. The Emerald Foundation, half of the team met, half of them didn't. We had technical difficulties. They're working on some changes to the application for next year. They're also working at some thoughts on the Hall of Honor and trying to help people remember that that's a thing and nominate people for the Hall of Honor. And they're also just working on trying to fix their, work on membership, trying to decide if they wanted a bigger group or not. So it's a little bit of just rework things right now. So. Discussion, we need to discuss dates for 2022-2023 school year, the evaluation. And for retreat for the superintendent. We need to pick a date for the retreat. And we need to work on our end of the year board evaluation. That we need to do too, but we have to do that.
Are we thinking August for the retreat?
Yes, are you going away from June, or you're not going away in July?
I'm not available the, I believe, second week of August.
It could be July too. The week of the 4th is the week I would.
Can we look at the?
Yeah, I'm not doing it on the 4th.
Wrong week.
Or the whole week.
Can we maybe look at the last week of July?
Let me ask this question too, because we discussed goals and things, right?
Yeah.
If we do it in July, is that too early, Bill, for you and your team to get all of that information compiled? Or would you rather it be in August so there's more time to compile that information?
No, I'm fine with the last week of July, it's fine. Okay, fine.
And are we doing a full day, half day, or evening? Yeah.
Well, this is where I can add something. I guess could have also been a knowledge sharing, but as part of the work with the NISBA's DEI committee, one thing that I just got permission to share with people today is a board self-evaluation on being anti-racist as a board. So I think that would be a useful exercise for us to go through. So that might be some more time we need to take. It seems like the retreat is an appropriate place to do that. But we could do it another time if you prefer as well. That would be my suggestion.
I would like to do
When we go through that. I don't know, I'm totally honest, I don't know how much time it would take, but.
So they have a formula, they have a plan for doing that?
Yeah, there's a rubric that we can go through.
You
And
know,
I think it would be mostly a rubric that we'd each fill out on our own and then have some time to discuss. From my initial look, it's, an hour discussion would be enough for the initial thing, and then that can help us as we guide our goals on DEI work. But it is much more focused on the board itself, not on the district as a board.
So the options are a Saturday morning or a weekday evening, is that what I'm taking?
It could be any day of the week.
I know it gets hard with everyone's schedules, but I felt like a couple years ago when we kind of took like the whole day or a majority of the day, and Travis, I don't know if this would be like too difficult, but I felt like we were a lot more productive, and I think we were more fresh because it was like, it was during the day. It wasn't like the end of the night or the end of a week when we were all kind of burnt out.
I've been a part of two, one on a Saturday morning, which was quite lengthy. And last year we did it in the evening. I don't have a problem, I can't take a day off work for that. So if you want to do something like that, it would have to be a Saturday for me, Friday afternoon, I could do.
I'm fine if it's on Saturday. I think I'd rather get the whole thing.
I'd rather it be a weekend because I already have one of these for both days as well that I have to take a day off for the following week. And with vacations and stuff, but I'd actually be fine with the weekend if
I'd be good with that too.
So Saturday?
Saturday or,
I'm kind of against it.
I don't do anything on Monday, Tuesday.
Schedule Saturday.
How about the 23rd? just picking a date.
Of July?
I can't do the 23rd of July.
I don't want to do the Hamilton Film Festival.
About the 3rd.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, Travis, your family might be having a reunion that day?
That's not at all weird, but okay.
Let's not do the 30th.
Okay, your mom will kill you, sorry.
What about August 6th?
August 6th.
I'm away on the 6th,
Oh my
How
God.
about we go back to the 16th,
right?
I don't think I'm available.
July 16th.
16th?
I like to do July 16th.
16th is fine. Bill, do you think that's enough time if we did the 16th for you to get all your information
Yeah.
composed?
So Saturday, July 16th?
July 16th.
What time?
Let's say like 10.
10.
Yeah.
Till,
Right.
I'd like to thank Michelle for being the calendar.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Well, your mom sent me a date, I put it on my calendar.
priceless.
Well done. BOE, what is this? Retreat.
Retreat.
Here at the school of the PG room?
Yeah.
Is there something else we're supposed to discuss here? The Board of Ale?
Just, that's coming up, so be ready. I'm gonna send you stuff to do
Okay. so-
board eval and then the dates for that, we have to figure out for next year. I don't really wanna hit those yet, because we usually just kind of take what we've been doing. But just a reminder that it's coming up. So I'll send some stuff out on that.
For the retreat, the main objective is to put together our district goals.
District goals, and then if we can do this other thing as well.
Yeah, in the past, we've had an outside person from BOCES come. I don't know, I will just say, in my mind, I think I don't know that we need that. I think that we've done this enough as a group that
I
we
did
could go through
last
it
year
again.
without,
I'm
didn't
happy.
Without-
Oh, we did without last year?
The first year I was here.
Yeah, yeah, we,
Yeah, we did
yeah.
last year.
Yeah, last year without.
Okay,
Yeah,
well then,
yeah.
again, then
And if we're gonna do a presentation on it, maybe,
I'm, yeah,
that we should probably be able to hit.
Yeah, we should.
How was disconnect?
So we'll do it ourselves.
Speaker in mind or anything about anything?
For our retreat? No.
then I'll
Corey
do a
will
better
provide
assessment of
guarantee.
that. But in the form of a
In the form of
DEI
a-
survey. I'll get a better sense of how long that would take and let you know.
Yeah, we can
Kind
adjust
of
the date.
decide how to plan that into the day. I think it would be most useful if it was something we did before deciding the goal for that
Yeah.
season. But I think it could be
Last year
work we
we-
could do on our own.
Last year we did bring some goals in with
Yes.
us, each individually, so we'll do that again. That was helpful for timing.
Yeah, I thought last year it worked out very well, the whole process.
Yeah.
Knowledge sharing, Corey, you got something going on?
Well, that was it, no, that was it.
That was it, I know, but do you have a presentation? It's not really knowledge sharing, but are we?
Or,
are
oh, we haven't
doing
gotten
this
that.
one? We haven't heard of
Yeah.
anything, okay.
That did look great.
I guess that we were moving into, I was moving into the NISBA discussion there, but, NISBA is in Syracuse
Yes.
next year.
Dates, I think I already put it on the calendar.
I think I did too.
It's October, right?
It is,
28, 29.
27th to May 29th,
27, 28,
I do believe.
29 had something on it, that's how I knew.
Yeah, I have 27, 28, 20.
It's in October.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Full days, lots of different classes that we all go to. Because it's Syracuse, we probably don't need to
We
stay.
don't need an Airbnb at this time?
Probably not, even though that's like
Come on, Timbo,
a
you
good
know?
piece of, going. But we should all plan those days and plan to take those and be there for that. As much as possible, but, yeah. So just a reminder of looking ahead for those. And then, before we move to public participation, when we go into executive session and come back out, we will not go back on screen because we are not voting on anything this evening.
Correct.
So that brings us to our final participation. If anybody would like to come forward, you're more than welcome to. Or if there's anything online, Chris, Morgan?
There is nothing currently online. We did at one time have a number of people watching,
Well,
but nobody left any comments. so
I
far.
guess, I just, because Travis, you're here with the levy for the library, what are your hopes with that? Is it-
Sure, I can share a little bit about it. I was going to sort of save it for a discussion if anybody had any questions about why we're increasing it.
Yeah.
Similar to the same issues you're having, but on a much smaller scale. Our increases are staff related and insurance. We are increasing our tax levy by about 7%, which is over our tax cap for the first time in a long time. For a long time, we were able to take from a savings account that we had built up over time. The bad news with a savings account is that we weren't supposed to have it at the level that we had, so we were really spending it down. So we didn't raise our tax levy by more than 1 or 2% since I've been here. This year we had a capital project when we redid our HVAC system that went way over budget because of so many COVID-related things. So we cut into our savings account more than we usually did. So that kind of bumped up the need to increase our tax levy. But 7% for us is only about $10,000. So it's not a huge hit. But I'm just here to sort of respond to that. If anybody saw that, I think it was about 132 or 130 last year, and we're asking for about 139 this year. And it also, our budget includes increases to payroll and insurance, but it does, I think there's about a 10% cut across the board for any discretionary spending. So books and programs are going to get cut back a little bit, even though we're raising this part of our budget. Hopefully.
I just figured you were here, we should.
Sure.
make
I'm
sure.
happy to talk about it at any length.
Thank you.
But I'll plan to come to the budget hearing as well in May.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for being here and for that little intro to that for us.
Thanks, Travis.
Mhm.
At this time, I need a motion to enter into executive session. Okay. All those, oh wait, I have to read the whole thing. Do I have it?
Right, yeah.
No, but it doesn't. A motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the employment history of particular individuals. Sorry.
I'll second. Go ahead, do it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you very much.
Mark, Kevin, and Heather will be joining us.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Because I need to open my.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Travis.
Family.